The chill in the air wrapped around me like a thin, oppressive blanket as I stepped out of my car and looked up at the familiar outline of the old family house. The worn wooden porch creaked beneath my feet as I ascended, echoing the sound of my heart thrumming wildly in my chest. I had returned to Silver Springs after all these years, drawn by a force I could hardly comprehend. The last time I stood on this porch was the day I left, the day my life became a twisted tangle of betrayal and heartbreak. My fingers brushed over the splintered railing, and a wave of memories flooded my mind, almost knocking the breath out of me. Each memory was like a dark whisper, echoing tales of friendship lost, trust shattered, and the chilling taste of revenge that lingered within me. You can do this, I whispered to myself, the words barely breaking through the cold air. Inside, I heard the muffled laughter of familiar voices, friends turned strangers, laughter that resonated with my past in a way both comforting and excruciating. I had come back to settle the score, to reclaim what was rightfully mine. Ella, is that you? A voice called, interrupting my thoughts. I braced myself as the door opened. The moment I saw her, wearing that same radiant smile that used to brighten my entire world, it felt like a knife twisting in my gut. Oh my God, it has been so long, she exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with joy that clearly contrasted with my inner turmoil. The warmth in her tone felt so inviting, yet I couldn't help but swallow hard, my throat constricting at the unbidden memories of betrayal. Yeah, I figured it was time, I managed to say while forcing a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. The laughter coming from the living room pulsed through the air, filled with stories and memories that had gone on without me. Come on in, everyone's here, she urged, and I stepped over the threshold, that familiar scent of baked cookies and cinnamon immediately wrapping around me, taking me back to simpler times. I closed my eyes for a brief moment, envisioning the warmth of our friendship, the late night talks, and the dreams shared over countless cups of coffee. But even in this vision, the image of betrayal lurked like a shadow, ominous and unshakable. As I walked toward the living room, I was greeted by laughter and a bunch of familiar faces, all of whom had remained so close while I had drifted away. Ella, they chorused, and I forced myself to stand taller than I felt, to smile wider than I wanted as they pulled me in for embraces, each one reminding me of how much had changed. Pushing the memories aside, I joined in the chatter, although every word spoken felt like a spell that momentarily dulled the ache of what had been. You look amazing, someone said, and I smiled in response, my mind racing back to the late nights spent holed up in a corner of my room, dreaming of the very revenge I had aimed to execute in silence. Thanks, so do you? I replied, forcing the excitement in my voice, though inside, nerves coiled tighter with every tick of the clock. Let's get some drinks, we need to celebrate. I followed as they led me to the kitchen, where the scent of freshly baked cookies mingled with the remnants of the wine consumed, spilling into laughter and joy. Everyone poured their drinks and began spilling stories, each tale a thread weaving back to the moments of happiness I once shared with them, not realizing how deeply my heart had fractured behind closed doors. So, tell us everything. What have you been doing all this time? Another voice asked, eyes gleaming with curiosity and genuine interest. Oh, living, the usual stuff, I replied, holding back the truth as tightly as I could. I even picked up painting again, I added, half-truths clinging like shadows. That's awesome, you should show us some of your work, someone exclaimed, clapping their hands in excitement. Yeah, maybe tomorrow, I said, keeping my tone vague, even as they showered me with compliments that cut into my resolve, stirring the bitterness within me. The conversation shifted, words blurring into one another as I caught snippets of past laughter, tales of birthdays and dreams. I smiled on the surface while obscured emotions warred within me. Can you believe how long it has been since we all got together? Someone remarked as I surveyed the room, taking in the decor that felt like a museum of nostalgic memories. Each laugh echoed like a dagger, each smile a reminder of how easily they had abandoned me when I needed them most. It's been too long, I said, my voice more detached than I intended, the weight of reality pressing down on me like an anchor. And then there it was, sitting unassumingly in the corner, a picture frame that displayed a moment frozen in time. I followed the angles and shadows of the familiar faces caught in the frame, my past, irrefutably tangible yet achingly distant. You all look so happy, I said, struggling to keep the sharp edge of bitterness from cutting through my voice. Of course we are. It's a celebration, she said, throwing an arm around my shoulder while her laughter echoed around the room. A celebration? I whispered to myself as I slipped away into a quieter corner, needing a moment to breathe, feeling the room pulse with life around me while I anchored myself in the slight shadows. I balled my hands into fists, nails digging into my palms, as I gazed around the room at their innocent laughter, their carefree spirits contrasting gravely with the mess I had carried inside me for so long. They were completely unaware that the warmth of friendship had a hidden price, that their loyalties had a time limit, and that mine had long expired. My heart raced as I glanced around, catching sight of those unguarded moments slipping through my fingers like sand, the whispers of betrayal only serving to fuel the flames of my darkest intentions. You coming back to Silver Springs was just what we needed. A voice cut through my thoughts, jolting me back to the moment. It was one of my oldest friends, but as I looked into her eyes, I was reminded of the choice she had made, the choice to let me go while holding others close. Yeah, you know how it is, I replied, forcing a smile while my resolve tightened like a coil inside my chest. Tell me about it, she continued, oblivious to the turmoil brewing within me. It just feels right to have everyone back together like this. Yeah, right, I echoed, sarcasm lacing my voice just beneath the surface, barely hiding the bitterness that clung to me like smoke. Sometimes I think things have a way of bringing people back together. Absolutely, it's like fate, right? She laughed, and for a split second, I felt a flicker of hope that perhaps redemption was still possible. But it quickly fizzled out, replaced by the heavy reality that I had not returned simply for the sake of reunions. Those guilty smiles preserved in time didn't belong to me anymore. As I leaned back against the cool surface of the counter, the laughter lapped around me like waves at the shore, but I felt like a ship lost at sea. Want to help me with the cookies? I finally asked, desperate to escape the buzzing crowd, longing for momentary solitude to collect my thoughts. Are you kidding? I'm a mess in the kitchen. I just enjoy consuming goodies. She playfully retorted, and I couldn't help but crack a smile at her innocent charm. The kitchen, enclosed and close, felt softer than the rest of the house. I busied myself with the cookie tray, allowing the familiar scent of chocolate and sweetness to bring me back to simpler memories. Well, you may want to grab a few cookies for backup, I said with feigned lightness, knowing deep down I was building a shield against the storms brewing around us. I'd learned something about love and friendships over the years in my solitude. They could be deceiving and deadly, just as easily as they could be uplifting. The sound of the front door creaking open jolted my focus, breaking the momentary escape I'd clung to. More laughter echoed through the house, but one laugh stood out above the others, a laugh that twisted my insides into abhorrent knots. Memories surged, crashing over me like a relentless tide, that unmistakable voice cracking through the celebration. I can't believe you all waited for me, she exclaimed, and my stomach dropped at the sight of her, my so-called friend, stepping into the warmth of the house, her presence illuminating the room in a dark shade. My heart crashed within me as I turned away, the anger bubbling just below the surface, pushing against the guard I had spent so long constructing. And in that moment, I sensed a shift that would ignite the fire of vengeance within my heart. It had been years since I'd seen her, years since the betrayal stung so deep. But now here she was, oblivious to the war raging inside me. The very reason I had returned to Silver Springs was standing in the doorway as if she owned the place. Control was slipping through my fingers like grains of sand, but I had an arsenal to combat each raw pang of hurt. I would transform this moment of weakness into a theater of reckoning, a stage for justice under the guise of casual smiles and shallow conversations. I turned back toward the group, vibration coursing through my body, fueled by the adrenaline coursing through my veins, blooming enormous plans of revenge in my mind as her laughter twinkled around me. What had once been a sanctuary had now been transformed into a battlefield, and I was about to unleash the storm that brewed within me. The game against the tranquil air had begun. The sun was setting over Silver Springs, casting long shadows on the pavement and filling the sky with hues of orange and purple that seemed to mock the chaos simmering within me. I stood in front of my small, weather-beaten apartment, the air thick with the scent of fried food from the diner down the street. A quiet life had once seemed perfect, but now its banality grated against my sense of injustice like nails on a chalkboard. My heart raced as I recalled the events of the last few weeks, a twisted knot tightening in my stomach. Standing outside, I felt liberated by the fading light but tormented by the memories that haunted me. I had always thought of myself as someone who played by the rules. I followed the path laid out for me, moving from college to a steady job where I helped others. I was the dependable friend, the one who showed up with homemade cookies or listened patiently to others' dreams. But things changed when I discovered the truth hidden away behind a smile. The betrayal gnawed at me like a slow poison, spreading its roots through my heart, infecting everything I once cherished. The laughter of friends haunted me as I approached the stairs leading to my worn apartment door. Can I do this? I whispered to myself, the words escaping my lips like a hesitant prayer. Can I really go through with it? My fingers brushed over the icy metal of the door handle, grounding me. As memories flooded in, my grip tightened. I thought about how naive I had been, placing my trust in people who took advantage of my kindness. My mind flashed back to the party where everyone had gathered, high on laughter and cocktails, oblivious to the dark undercurrent swirling just beneath the surface. Hey Ella, come try this? A voice rang out, pulling me away from my thoughts. It was him, the smiling face that had made my heart flutter just months before. Yet that same face now twisted into the likeness of a serpent. He had been the first to betray me, whispering sweet nothings while he plotted against me. I had been his friend, his confidant, and when I needed them most, they had turned their backs. He had laughed while I stood there shocked and crushed. I could still see the smugness in his eyes as he watched me fall apart. As I stepped inside, the door creaked ominously behind me. I was met with the familiar scent of old books and the musty odor that had become the hallmark of my solitude. My eyes darted to the small kitchen, the sink filled with unwashed dishes. I hadn't had the energy for such mundane acts. Instead, I had been consumed by a desire for retribution that flickered in my chest like a flame, beckoning me towards something darker, something I could hardly recognize as myself. I needed a plan, a way to rise above their thoughtless cruelty. Hours slipped by as I sat in the center of my living room, the light of my laptop casting a bluish hue over everything. I opened a blank document, the cursor blinking expectantly. Composing my thoughts transformed the buzzing chaos within me into something tangible, something I could shape and mold. Maybe I would start by revealing their deceit to the rest of the circle, or perhaps I could make them believe I was still in their fold, biding my time like a spider coiling its web before striking. Slowly, I felt the cold determination solidifying into flesh, my thoughts shifting from confused rage to a calculated focus. The rustle of a car pulling up outside caught my attention, pulling me out from my reveries. My heart skipped a beat as I recognized the sleek black vehicle. It belonged to one of them, a fallen comrade in this twisted game, and my stomach tightened at the thought. My thoughts raced. What was I doing? Was this a direct attempt to confront them, or was this just a coincidence? I could not let anything get in my way. I had spent too much time wallowing in despair. It was time for action. Peering through the cracked blinds, I watched as a figure stepped out, my heart pounding with an electric rhythm. I need to do this, I muttered to myself, barely comprehending the weight of my words. My knees trembled as memories flooded back, drunken evenings filled with laughter that would never return, the warmth of friendship replaced by frostbite betrayal. The anguish sparkled in my chest, each beat echoing like whispers. A flicker of anger ignited inside me, and I reached for my phone. My fingers hovered over the screen, itching to send a message to the others, an invitation to meet up, an innocuous way to get everyone on my turf. With a swift motion, I typed out the message and hit send, watching it disappear into the ether. I could feel the shadows closing in, every second stretching for an eternity as I waited. My mind raced with possibilities, envisioning how the night would unfold. The sound of my phone vibrating against the table, jerking me from my thoughts, startled me. It was a reply, a quick, "What's up?" From one of them, the words an echo of my suppressed desires. "Just a little get together, thought it would be fun," I replied, suppressing a smile. The thrill I felt was intoxicating, an adrenaline rush unlike any that had come before. I wondered if they could sense the trap being set, a slow tightening noose that they could not see yet. I would weave my web carefully, ensuring they remained unsuspecting until the final moment when the truth would strike like a thunderbolt, leaving them reeling in shock. I turned my attention back to my apartment, pacing in anticipation, conjuring images of their faces when they finally understood the betrayal would not go unanswered. I had dreamed of this moment often, but the reality of it seemed surreal. The sun had dipped below the horizon, darkness wrapping itself around my little apartment. I felt a mix of fear and a strange exhilaration. I had undergone a metamorphosis. I was no longer just Ella, the girl who believed in kindness and loyalty. No, I was now Ella, a woman lurking in the shadows, waiting to reclaim my power in a world where I had felt so small. When the doorbell rang, it echoed through the silence like a gunshot, and the exhilaration surged once more. As I opened the door, I feigned a bright smile, wearing my mask as if nothing was different. "Hey, so glad you could make it," I exclaimed, greeting the familiar faces. Gleaming eyes lit up the room as they poured inside, laughter and casual banter washing away the seriousness of the moment. "What's the occasion?" one of them asked, plopping down on my couch, a semblance of arrogance in their demeanor. "I thought we could have a little catch-up," I said casually. I noticed them glancing around, perhaps taking in the untidy space and the lingering aroma of takeout. "I ordered some food and I have drinks. Hope you're all hungry?" "Oh, we are," another chimed in, and soon their chatter turned the room electric with energy. Every joke and shared memory felt like a pulse, connecting us in ways that, unbeknownst to them, were beginning to fracture. I felt myself blending in, laughing along with them, even cracking a few jokes to disarm any suspicion. "Hey, remember that roast you insisted on bringing to my birthday? I nearly didn't eat for a week." Everyone burst into laughter, their carefree attitude disarming my nervousness, but beneath it all simmered my resolve. "Chicago deep dish pizza, how could anyone possibly hate it?" One laughed, and for a moment I lost myself. Laughter echoed through the room, somehow feeling surreal, as if I were unrelated to the walls surrounding me. I looked at their faces, their expressions lit by the flickering light, and my heart twisted. I couldn't betray my facade just yet, and so I laughed along, feeling the iron grip of my plan tightening like a vice. As the laughter and teasing soon continued, I made my way to the kitchen, my heart thumping heavily as I prepared drinks, masking my inner turmoil behind a facade of warmth. "Why don't you guys help yourselves to some snacks while I finish up?" I called out, forcing cheerfulness into my voice. I poured drinks into glasses, careful not to linger too long, knowing that I needed to keep my cool. The plan was simple but effective, like a spider waiting for a fly to land in its web. Once all two of them had drinks and snacks in hand, I joined them again, holding my breath as the carefully laid seeds of doubt pitched in my mind. If I wanted them to see my hand, I would have to take them by surprise. "So, how is everyone?" I asked lightly, searching their faces as they sipped their drinks, laughter fading slightly as they looked at me. It was time to lay the groundwork to begin chipping away at their defenses. "You know, I've been thinking a lot about how quickly friendships can change," I said, trying to keep my tone casual. "That's true," one of them said slowly, confusion flickering in their eyes. "I mean, it's so easy to get caught up in life and lose touch." "Yeah, but some changes are deeper," I replied, carefully gauging their responses. I stepped closer, my voice barely above a whisper. "You know, sometimes they're not just about moving on, sometimes they're about betrayal." The air shifted. A cold wave washed over them, a primal instinct sensing the tension winding tightly in the room. No one dared laugh now. Faces turned serious, and I relished the change in their demeanor. "What are you even talking about?" one of them asked, curiosity laced with unease. "Funny you should ask," I said, deliberately slow as I began to lay out the unsavory truth. "Because I remember some things that were said behind closed doors, some whispers that cut deeper than any knife." As their eyes widened in disbelief, I caught a hint of panic creeping across their features. Fidgeting, they all exchanged glances, a silent communication trapped in the air. I was in the middle of my web, waiting to spring my trap. Now the fireworks would begin. "Ella, what are you doing?" The nervousness in the voice made my heart swell. This was it. They were beginning to feel it, the web tightening, and soon they would find out the truth behind their betrayal. I could see their pride and arrogance peeling away like old paint, revealing the raw vulnerability beneath. "Oh, just saying that I thought I had friends, and that trust mattered," I said, my voice laced with bitterness as I stepped back for dramatic pause. "But it turns out that fickle ties are more valuable than real friends," I added, watching the last remnants of their power drain away as I glared into their eyes, filled with anxiety. My heart raced, exhilaration blending with anger, and I knew the stakes had been raised. My web had worked perfectly, and I felt the power surge within me, pushing me to unveil the true story. My story, the one they had tried to bury so deeply out of sight. Perhaps now they would finally understand that every whisper they directed at my back carried weight, and this time they would face the price of their betrayal. The sun hung low in the sky, casting elongated shadows within the narrow alleyways of Silver Springs as I made my way through the streets, clutching a crumpled piece of paper in my pocket. My heart raced with a mixture of anticipation and dread, a hard knot tightening in my stomach. This was the moment I had been waiting for. The revenge I had dreamt of for months was finally within reach. I had spent countless nights replaying the scene in my mind, and now reality felt sharper and more alive than ever, crackling with energy and a hint of danger. I could almost hear the whispers of the past fluttering around me like leaves in a brisk wind, reminding me of all that I had lost. I stepped into a dimly lit bar, its atmosphere thick with the scent of aged wood and spilled beer. The thrum of electric conversation surrounded me like a warm embrace, yet I felt nothing like comfort. Instead, my breath quickened as I scanned the room for a familiar face. There, slouched against the bar with a drink in hand, was the person who had set this entire chain of events into motion. I had to remind myself to breathe. I was not that same girl who had once been blind to the cruelty hidden beneath a charming smile. No, I had evolved. Revenge had become my mentor, teaching me resilience, cunning, and the sweet taste of justice. "Ella, newsflash, you could have just texted me instead of dropping in like an unscheduled meeting," he said, his voice the same blend of smugness and warmth that once made my heart race. "It's not a friendly visit," I replied, injecting my voice with an icy edge. I casually slipped onto the stool next to him, the worn leather groaning softly beneath my weight. The bartender glanced over, raising an eyebrow at my sudden appearance. "Sure, sure, so what brings you to the lair of poor decisions?" he asked, a mock grin splitting his face. It infused the air with a nostalgia that was stifling. I leaned closer, my eyes narrowing. "You know why I'm here." I could feel the rush of my own adrenaline pumping through me, and for a moment I felt alive. He smirked, the corners of his mouth lifting as he toyed with his drink, a cocktail of bright colors swirling together in a chaotic yet enticing blend. You never really played poker, did you? I mean, look at you. All your cards on the table. Not really my style, babe. Maybe you should have thought about that before you messed with me. I shot back, my voice lowering. The noise of the bar faded as our stare down intensified, the world around us shrinking to just the two of us. Oh, come on. It was a harmless little game. You really think I meant to hurt you? His eyes sparkled with arrogance, and I felt a fire ignite within me, a desire for something more justice. Harmless? You took everything. Threw my life into a disarray while you laughed it off as just another episode of playing with Ella. Do you even remember what you did? I spat the words at him, each one laced with the bitterness I had chewed on for far too long. His expression faltered just for a second, the bravado cracking as he considered my words. Look, I didn't mean it to go that far. You know how it is. I know how it is. Or maybe you only know how it is for you, huh? My voice rose, slipping through the cracks of controlled composure. My fingers wrapped around the cool edge of the counter, grounding me. The memories surged back unbidden, vivid moments of betrayal, laughter that felt like daggers dug deep into my skin. The way you threw me to the wolves for your own amusement cries the loudest. What happened happened. There's no use in dragging it out like this. He brushed it off, playful again, but I noticed the slight shimmer of tension in his jaw. Dragging it out, is that what you think this is? I'm offering you reflection on your actions. You should be grateful. I leaned in closer, my voice dropping to a whisper. How does it feel to see the consequences of your choices mirrored back at you? Consequences. You're pretending to be the hero of this story, but look. He gestured around the bar. This isn't a fairy tale, Ella. It's life. Things happen, people get hurt. You know how it is. I felt the anger boiling beneath my skin, demanding release. You really have no idea what I have been through since you decided to turn our lives into a theatrical circus act, do you? You had your fun, but I am not the same naive girl you used to know. I learned what you are. He shifted in his seat, irritation flaring across his features. And what is that? Tell me your great discovery, O wise one. Clarity, I said, my voice steady and cold. I see you for what you are, a coward who hides behind charm and deception. You're just a joker with no cards left to play. A silence stretched between us, heavy and thick enough to slice through. His expression shifted from irritation to confusion, his eyes searching mine as if looking for a flicker of weakness. But there was nothing. I had built walls of steel around my heart, and my resolve was unshakable. He leaned back, the mockery fading from his face, leaving in its wake a flicker of uncertainty. You really believe you can just walk in here and talk to me like that, like you have control over the situation? Control? No, I don't need control. My voice was steady, yet there was an intensity simmering beneath. What I need is closure, and maybe a little piece of the justice I lost. Closure? You want closure. You need to break a few legs before you get that. He chuckled softly, but it lacked the swagger it had just moments before. Instead, it felt hollow, an echo of his insecurity. What I need is for you to understand that messing with me has consequences. Your actions ripple out, and the splash is bigger than you think. I pulled the crumpled piece of paper from my pocket, its presence pulsing with potential. The familiar ink of betrayal glared back at me like a beacon in the dark. What's that? He asked, his voice dropping an octave as he squinted at the paper, now held tight in my grip. This is your invitation to reality, I said coolly, smoothing the creases with my fingers. It's time you see how your lies and games can come back to bite you. Ella, don't joke around. You're starting to sound crazy. His eyes darted around the bar as if he expected the walls to close in on him. Crazy, huh? When was the last time you truly felt the sting of your own choices? I felt the rush inside me, a furious adrenaline rushing through my veins, empowering me. Listen, we don't need to. He tried to interject, but I was not done. Please. I shot him a glare sharp enough to cut. You act like I'm the one who needs this conversation. You're the one clinging onto the remnants of the past like they're a life raft in the ocean of your guilt. So show me, prove to me that you remember the cost of your choices. I pressed the paper against his chest, shoving it toward him with intent. Read, and reflect. He hesitated, weighing his options as if contemplating a dangerous game of chess where the stakes were life and death. Ella, this has gone too far. No, it's gone just far enough to remind you of the price you could be paying, I hissed. This time the joke is on you. He took the paper from my hand, though I could see the tension in his shoulders. And what do you think will happen when I read this? You really believe it'll change anything? It might. I forced the words out, brittle under the weight of determination. I believe you've buried your mistakes under layers of arrogance. Now let's see how you cope with the truth when it comes knocking. I felt powerful, a puppet master pulling strings I had once thought lost. The reckoning I craved lay in those folded lines, ready to unleash a whirlwind of truths. Ella, I don't think. Don't think, I interjected sharply. Just read, you might learn a few things. He unfolded the paper, and as he began reading, I watched the confident smirk fade from his face. The clink of glasses and murmurs of patrons faded into background noise, leaving just the two of us suspended in this critical moment. a tension charged with vines of resentment and the prospect of redemption. His face turned pale, the ambient noise around us dulling as he absorbed what I had written. I saw that once solid bravado begin to falter, and in that moment I knew I had struck the chord I aimed for. I remained stoic, each heartbeat syncing with the explosive potential of the silence. His gaze lifted from the paper, locking onto mine, confusion and anger warring behind his eyes, a tempest brewing in the stormy depths. You, how could you? This is but a reflection of your playfulness at my expense. I'm just giving you a front row seat. With that, I stood up, summoning every ounce of determination in my soul. Enjoy the show. Before he could respond, I turned and walked away, every step in rhythm with the thrum of advancing hope. Hope for change, hope for deserved consequences. My heart pounded, and I reveled in the sweetness of victory, each clash of emotions singing within me. As I exited the bar, fresh air hit my face, and the world outside felt alive with possibility. The journey was still unfolding, but for now, I had planted the seeds for my revenge, and they would grow in time the rain had started again, drumming softly against the window like a persistent drummer, reminding me of the world outside that continued on as usual while I sat trapped in thought. The dim light of the living room flickered, casting shadows that loomed larger than the room itself. I looked at the worn couch where so many plans and dreams had once seemed possible, now marred by anger and the need for retribution. They thought they could walk away from what they did, that I would just fade into the background. But I would show them they were wrong. I would show all of them. I glanced around, my heart beating faster as I replayed the events of the past few weeks in my mind. The feelings of betrayal swirled inside me like an active storm, pulling at my core. I gripped the armrest, feeling the indents of the fabric dug deep by previous moments of happiness, now clouded by darkness. They don't get to decide my fate, I muttered, my voice barely perceptible in the enveloping quiet. This ends now. My phone buzzed on the coffee table, the screen lighting up unexpectedly with a text from a number I almost didn't recognize. It was a group chat notification, one I had hastily joined a few days before. I took a breath and picked it up, the gleeful emojis popping against the dullness of the evening lighting. The group, huddled together in laughter at a restaurant just down the street, was completely oblivious to the storm brewing inside me. Their banter felt like an insult, a taunting reminder of what I had lost. Oh, how nice for them, I scoffed. I felt my cheeks flush with anger, tightening my grip on the phone. I tapped at the screen, a defiance rising up like a bubble ready to burst. Wish you all could see what it feels like to be left out, I typed, then hesitated. Would it even matter? But after a moment of thought, I added something more biting. Hope you enjoy those overpriced meals. Just remember who's paying the price for your fun. Hitting send, I set the phone down, imagining the shock on their faces, cringing at the hue of betrayal seeping through my words. I couldn't wait to hear their responses. Suddenly, the phone rang. The shrill sound pierced the silence, and I felt a strangling dread wrap around my throat. I recognized the name on the screen, a remnant of past alliances. I picked it up hesitantly, even as an electric jolt shot through me. Hey, I said, trying to keep my tone casual while inside an avalanche of questions and fury rumbled. Are you okay? The voice was soft, almost vulnerable. It felt so out of place against the weight of my emotions. I saw the message you sent to the group, it seemed. Kind of harsh, I just wanted to check on you. Why do you care? I spat sharply, my heart racing. I wasn't ready to show any vulnerability. You left me behind, remember, just like the rest. I didn't mean to. It's not what I wanted, they said, and I could almost hear the embarrassment in their tone. Look, you're my friend, you know that, right? Things just spiraled out of control, and well, sometimes people make choices that are the wrong ones. Choices. I interrupted, my words slicing through the air thick with tension. You call it a choice to betray someone? You all had the chance to stand by me, to be there instead of throwing me aside for your little adventure. There was a moment of silence, and I could feel the regret hanging heavily between us. Ella, you know I never like seeing you hurt. I don't want to pick sides, but I want you to be happy. Happy? What makes you think I want to be happy after everything? Do you have any idea how it feels to be cast aside, treated like I am nothing? Your version of happiness isn't mine, clearly. Please, just think about it. You don't need to go down this path of vengeance. It won't do anything but cause more pain. I can help if... Help, my voice rose, trembling with emotion. Help, is that the best you can do? You offer me a hand as if it matters now. I don't need your help to wallow in my sadness. I need to take control. Even if that control looks different from what you think it should be. Another stretch of silence passed, heavy and humid, as if the rain outside poured into the room through the phone lines. I could feel the resolve flickering in their silence. You don't mean that. You are not that person. You are better. Better? I pushed out a bitter laugh that seemed to fill the space, echoing as it bounced off the walls like the rain on the roof. They don't deserve better. They deserve to face the music, to feel the consequences of their actions. What if you hurt the wrong people in this? The voice sounded desperate now, pleading that I reconsider. What if, in your quest for vengeance, you lose more than you bargained for? I don't think it will heal you the way you think it will. I let out a long breath, shaking my head slightly, even though they couldn't see me. You have no idea what they've taken from me. I was there for them when they needed me, but they just turned their back when I couldn't bend to their whims. I never thought I would have to become the villain in my own story. Villains don't ever realize they are villains until it's too late, they said softly, almost fearfully. Just remember that, you might regret it later. You think I will regret this? You don't know me at all. I slammed my free hand down on the table, frustration boiling over in a tide. I am not going to just sit back while they laugh at me behind my back. They are going to know what it feels like to be me. I am just worried about you. I don't want you to drown in this anger. And there it was, that little hint of guilt creeping up on me. I didn't want to feel guilty. I had every right to be angry. I was tired of being the one carried away by everyone else's whims, of being the doormat when I had feelings of my own. You make it sound like I am making a mistake. Maybe this is the right path for me. I have every right to make them feel the same hurt they put me through. I don't want to see you go down this road, they urged, their tone becoming more insistent. Just think about what it might do to you. As I heard their concern, I felt a twinge of longing. I didn't want to let them down. A small part of me wanted to recede back into the light of friendship. But then, images of betrayal burned in my mind, hijacking any chance at peace. No, I can't think about it, I said, voice trembling. I won't. I will make them regret what they did to me. I will unleash the storm and I won't hold back. Ella, enough, I almost shouted, cutting them off. I was out of patience and the flickering candle of our friendship was about to be extinguished. This conversation is over. Do not try to stop me. This isn't a choice, it is my life and I will live it how I choose. A heavy silence hung on the other end of the line, and I could hear them swallowing hard. If you need me, if you ever want to talk again, I will be here. I hung up without another word, feeling a strange mix of relief and lingering sorrow. The phone slipped from my grasp, landing softly on the couch. I let my breath out slowly, the weight of everything pressing down on me. They were wrong. I should not have to apologize for wanting what was mine. I deserved this opportunity to rise, to reclaim my narrative. With renewed determination, I stood and walked to the door, glancing out at the rain battering against the glass. Time to prep for the storm, I whispered to myself, the spark of vengeance igniting inside me once more. I needed to think, plan, and execute my payback. They had underestimated my resolve, and I would create my chance, a chance that would leave them reeling. I felt the cool air prick my skin as I stepped outside, the comforting cadence of the rain mixing with the pounding of my heart. The scent of damp earth and petrichor filled the air, awakening a sense of urgency within me. With each step, I could feel the shackles of the past begin to lift. They would realize soon enough that I was no one to be underestimated. Game on, I whispered to the pouring rain as I felt a surge of adrenaline. In that moment, I knew they wouldn't see it coming. Not the storm I was about to unleash. And for the first time in a long time, I felt powerful. The rage inside was not a weakness, it was a fire that would lead me on my path. I clenched my fists and set my mind to my purpose. They would regret ever crossing me, and I would finally be free. The city lights glistened like diamonds in the water as I made my way toward the heart of town. The rain continued to pour, but with each step, I felt lighter, my focus becoming sharper. The door to my past would close behind me, while the door to my future swung wide open, revealing a world full of possibilities drenched in the sweet flavor of revenge. I sat alone on the edge of the dock, my feet hovering just above the water, feeling the gentle lapping of the Silver Springs River kiss at the tips of my sneakers. It was early evening, and the sky hung like a giant canvas brushed with warm pastels as the sun began its descent, casting long shadows that danced upon the wooden planks beneath me. It was the perfect setting to reflect on everything that had happened, the culmination of years filled with hurt, betrayal, and now, revenge. There was a moment of stillness, an almost sacred silence interrupted only by the occasional rustle of leaves in the light breeze. I took a deep breath, the air filled with the earthy smell of wet wood and the faint essence of wildflowers. It was calming, yet my heart raced as anticipation swelled inside me. The river is beautiful tonight, isn't it? A voice pulled me from my swirling thoughts. I turned my head to see him walking down the dock, his figure backlit by the dimming sun. Just seeing him made my heart tighten. He was the architect of my misery, the reason I was here, plotting my carefully crafted retribution. Are you here to gloat? I replied, my voice steady as I faced him. I could sense the tension radiating between us like a taut wire about to snap. Or do you plan to play the part of the concerned friend again? He frowned slightly, his brow furrowing as he stepped closer. Ella, it's not like that. I wanted to talk. Talk after everything you put me through? I shook my head, incredulous. You've got a nerve showing up here. The look on his face was a mixture of regret and annoyance. I know I made mistakes, I hurt you, and I'm sorry. It's just I needed to see you. I thought maybe we could. Could what smooth things over? Pretend you didn't break me? I interrupted, my voice louder now, echoing off the nearby trees. I was not going to let him soften me with meaningless words. You can't just erase the past with an apology. He sighed, running a hand through his thick hair in a gesture that used to make my heart flutter. Now it only served as a reminder of how easily charm could mask deceit. I guess I deserve that, but Ella, please let me explain. What I did, I wasn't thinking straight. Things got out of hand. What I went through wasn't some petty misunderstanding. I leaned forward, my heart pounding with emotion. You destroyed my trust. You set me up. I lost everything because of you. I was left in shattered pieces while you just moved on with your life. You think just saying sorry is enough? You think I would still give you a chance to talk? It was gratifying, watching the color drain from his face as realization dawned upon him. He took a step back, his shoulders slumping in resignation. I never meant for it to end like this. I should have known better, but can't we at least try to? Try what? To make amends? No, this isn't some feel-good story with a happy ending. I spat, venom lacing my words. There is no amends to be made here. You made your choice, and now I am making mine. As I spoke, flashes of memories surged through my mind. The betrayals, the lies stacked one upon the other like a Jenga tower waiting for a single touch to all come crashing down. I had spent so long being hurt, being angry, and plotting my revenge that even the thought of forgiveness felt impossible, like trying to catch smoke with my bare hands. I don't want to fight, he said, his voice softer now, as if the weight of my words had finally sunk into his conscience. I want to know how I can fix this. Fix this? You can't fix something when the foundation is rotten. I snapped back, stifling the ache in my chest. Despite the fury boiling inside me, I could feel a part of me, the foolish, hopeful part years of cultivating hope trying to resurface. You should have cared about that before you traded our love for your ambition. I was young and stupid. I thought I could handle it, but I was foolish, he said, his voice desperate now, his eyes pleading with me to understand. Things got out of control and I should have owned up to it. I let you down and for that I'm truly sorry. I just don't want to hear it, I shouted, my voice trembling with the weight of all my pent-up emotions. Each word was like a potent weapon and I used them with precision. You think this is about forgiveness? It's not. This is about consequences. There was a moment of silence, the tension thick like fog hanging over the river. I took a deep breath to calm the storm within me, the vengeful part that had pushed me to plan for this moment. I could feel the rage still simmering, but I needed to focus. It was time for my plan to unfold. He shifted on the dock, uncertainty mingling with anger. What are you planning, Ella? You know this won't end well for either of us. I managed a bitter smile, a remnant of the girl I used to be, before his betrayal twisted my heart into knots. Oh, but I think it will end perfectly for me. I stood up, my legs steady beneath me, anger fueling my resolve. You see, you might think I am just a victim here, but I am far from it. Victims don't plan revenge, he shot back, crossing his arms with a hint of defiance. What do you think you are going to achieve by dragging this out? Do you really want to know? I asked, my eyes narrowing as I reveled in the moment. At that point, the satisfaction coursed through me, like the radiant sunset illuminating the water. I have spent sleepless nights thinking about how you destroyed my life. I wrote it all down, every detail, every betrayal. I gathered evidence and now I plan to show everyone just who you are. His face paled, realization creeping in over his features. You wouldn't. I stepped closer, the distance between us shrinking until I could almost feel the heat radiating from his skin. Why not? After everything you have done, you don't get to walk away scot-free. You will pay for your lies, your deceit. Opened his mouth, but no words came out, merely a choked breath as he struggled for composure. Ella, please. There was a moment, a heartbeat suspended in time, as I looked into his eyes, searching for a hint of the man I once loved, before the betrayal turned him into a stranger. You made me feel weak, but I will no longer stand in the shadow of your choices. My heart has grown stronger in your absence. My resolve deepened in your betrayal. I didn't know, he managed, but it didn't matter. This was not a moment for reconciliation. It was my reckoning, my final stand. I am going to expose everything you have ever done to everyone who trusted you. You'll have to face the repercussions of what you built on lies and deceit. My voice was unwavering, echoing over the surface of the water as if the river itself bore witness to my transformation. He shook his head, anger and fear warring within him. Do you really think that will make you feel better? Do you really think ruining my life will heal yours? Maybe not my heart, I admitted, feeling the truth seep from my lips. But it will restore my peace. I will no longer carry your burdens. I will be free. His expression shifted, the steel of his anger melting into something more vulnerable. Ella, he said softly, please. I understand if you want to distance yourself from me, but hurting me won't fix anything. All that will do is bring more pain. I pondered his words, but shook my head. You made me an enemy when you chose ambition over our bond. I gave you love and trust, and you squandered it. I could feel the pain raw, still fresh. I have been planning this for months, and soon, everyone will see you for the fraud you truly are. He ran a hand through his hair again, frustration radiating off him in waves. You're not thinking clearly, you're acting out of anger. Maybe anger is the only thing that can bring clarity when someone has taken everything from you. I turned my back to him, feeling the power of my resolve as bolts of determination surged through me. It is time for me to take control and for you to face the fallout. Ella, don't do this. His voice was strained, desperate. You're better than this. I am better than this. I turned back to face him, my heart racing not from fear but from empowerment. I am better because I recognize my strength. I refuse to be your victim any longer, and I will not let you manipulate me with your hollow words. He stepped forward, reaching out, but I took a step back. Don't, this is not about us anymore. This is about the truth coming to light. Think about how this will affect your life, he said, an urgency creeping into his tone. Everyone will see you as the villain, too. No, I promise you this. I will show them I am stronger than the lie you built. You might fear the truth coming out, but I want the world to know exactly who you are. You may have betrayed me once, but I will not let you keep me chained to the past. Realization struck him, his face tightening in pain. Ella, please don't throw your life away because of me. This is not about throwing my life away, it's about reclaiming it. You taught me how to harness pain, and now it is time I turn it into my weapon. I took a deep breath, the tension between us dissolving into the purifying evening air. I used to think I needed you, but look at you. You are not the person I loved. You are just a shadow of your former self, lost in your choices, and now I will not allow you to take me down with you. The silence that followed was so thick I could feel it settle in my bones. I took a last look at him, and in that fixed gaze I saw a glimpse of the man I once knew, the good before the downfall. But it vanished as fast as it had come. My heart hardened, and I turned away for the last time, stepping back from the dock and leaving him standing there amid fading sunlight. I walked away, shoulders squared as the weight of the past began to lift. The river continued to flow, and with it, I felt the currents of my own life shift, heading toward the unknown but promising freedom. I had stepped into my power, and now nothing could stop me. My retribution would come, as surely as the dawn would break the night, and it would taste sweeter than any dream of reconciliation ever could.